Hi you guys, and welcome back for another video. As promised, here is part 2 of our love story. If you have not already, click the little icon in the corner of your screen and go check out part 1 and then come back for part 2. Thank you so much to those of you who commented and emailed and liked the video to let me know that you guys really enjoyed it. So here's part 2, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as you did part 1. So here is part 2 of The Foundation. Wednesday, March 4th, 2015. And the verse that I put to go along with this was it's Proverbs 18 and 22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. I never had a problem talking to someone incarcerated. I had dealt with it before on many occasions with many of my exes, so it was nothing new. Initially, I hadn't planned on getting serious with my husband until after he was released. I was just interested in talking to him, catching up, getting to know the man he had become, but that didn't go as planned. The more we talked, the more I was falling back in love with him. It was something I tried to hide and wanted to conceal. I mean, how would I explain to my family and friends I was falling in love with a man I hadn't seen in years and he's incarcerated? I was so confused, and that resulted in a lot of unnecessary arguments and misunderstandings between him and me. So, I had always, or I had dealt with before my exes, going to jail, like the county jail. Never prison, just always the county. So the whole prison thing was new to me, but definitely not being with someone behind bars. Like I said, I had no plans, none whatsoever, of getting serious with him. I was single, and so it was just, hey, I can talk to who I want to talk to. It was my first time being single in years, actually. So I was just kind of enjoying the moment, talking to him, and I had a couple other, guy friends that I was, talking to, not dating anyone, like not going on dates or anything, but just kind of enjoying life. Like I said, enjoying life, enjoying my daughter. It was me and her staying together in my own apartment at the time, and just finding me enjoying life being single. No plans on getting serious with him at all. Like I said, how would I explain to my family and friends that I was falling in love with somebody who I hadn't seen person to person in years, and that he was incarcerated? So I myself was confused because I wanted to please other people, which I get to that part in this blog as well. But so I'll go more into depth in that once I get to that part. Then in September 2013, the visit started, and my feelings only intensified. On our first visit, I wore a t-shirt, a pair of jeans, and black tennis shoes. Although the ride normally takes only Although the ride normally only takes 30 to 45 minutes. I'm sorry, y'all. My mother-in-law went with me, and that was the first time her and I had ever met, let alone been in the same car together. Then, on top of that, we got lost. We eventually found our way there, and the wait to see his face was one of the longest waits of my life. When we walked in, my heart dropped to my stomach, and I felt like the middle school girl who fell in love with him so many years prior. We hugged and shared a kiss that I will never forget as long as I live. We all shared conversation and laughs and had a wonderful visit. It really hurt me to leave him, but I knew that was only the first visit of many more to come, and that put me at ease. So we had been talking about it for a while, me coming to visit him, and he finally put me on the list, and he told me to call his mom to get kind of the rules and what to wear and different things like that of visitation, because like I said, I had only been to see my exes in the county, and that was behind glass. So there really were no restrictions on clothing or anything like that. But of course, prison is a totally different world from that. So, um, so my mother-in-law rode with me, and it was our first time actually talking to one another. I had saw her prior, at the church the years prior, but I never spoke to her, never said anything to her. It was strictly him because we were kids at the time. I mean, we were, teenagers. But this time I actually met her. We were in the same car together, having conversation together, and I'm grown at this point. And I don't think she knew me. She probably knew of me, but like I said, that was probably years prior. So I'm this girl coming in, you know, pretty much reuniting with her incarcerated son. So it was kind of awkward. It was kind of awkward, but we got through it. We got through it. We did get lost on the way there, but we found our way. Let me scroll down a little bit. Oh, and so when we get to visitation, we're sitting there and we're waiting for him to come in, and he comes in, and y'all, he was the finest thing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, so he hugs his mom first. Hugs his mom, gives her a kiss first. And then he hugs me and he kisses me, and it was just, oh, I can't even explain it. I can't even explain it. It's just, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. So, it was becoming obvious to the both of us that we were in love. I couldn't build up the courage to tell anyone such a thing, but it was getting harder and harder to hide my feelings for him. Then, on one of our calls, he asked would I marry him. I'm thinking it was just a general question and he meant in the future, so my answer was, of course. Little did I know, he was very serious, and he was about to be my husband. We were to be married in February 2014, and although I had prayed that he would someday be my husband, as that day approached, I got more and more terrified. So I went to my church family and asked them to pray for answers as to if he was the one for me, and I received my answer, which at that time was if I had, I wouldn't be in God's perfect will and there would be consequences. I've seen firsthand what kind of consequences come with being in God's permissive will, and it was something I wasn't going to experience. Plus, it was a relief knowing I didn't have to explain anything to anybody. So, he asked me to be his wife, and he had actually sent me the marriage packet. So, of course, since I was a little girl, I had prayed for my husband. I knew the kind of husband that I wanted. I knew he had to be a leader, he had to be a provider, he had to be a man of God, he had to have all these different characteristics, and I have prayed for that since I was a little girl. And my husband had all of those characteristics, he had all of them. But because of where he was, I was still questioning it. So I went to my church family and had them pray. Is this the man for me? Is this the man God has for me? I need to know. I need answers. So what happened was, God gave me an answer. And at this point, his answer was, yes, this is your husband. You can choose to marry him now if you want to marry him now. But it wasn't God's will for me to marry him at that time. God still had something he had to do in him. And God said he was my husband, but and I could have married him, but I would have been in God's permissive will. And I didn't want to be in God's permissive will. I've witnessed you know different women in my family do things, get married, um, according to God's permissive will, out of order, out of God's timing. And they went through a lot. They went through a lot, and I grew up watching that. And I did not want that for myself. So I went to my husband and I told him, I can't do it right now. God said I can't do it right now. So we're going to have to wait. And he was very supportive of that. His only request was that I not talk about it or talk about marriage or anything of the sort until I was ready, because it did kind of hurt his feelings that I partially turned him down. I didn't say no, but just not at that time, which was, when he wanted. And that wedding was set for February of 2014. So, yeah, he was very receptive of it. It was, he was just, let's not talk about it until you're ready. Let's scroll down. All right. We planned to be married at the next ceremony, which was in August. Once again, as the day approached, I sought God for an answer. This time, my answer was plain and clear, and as much as I wanted to wait, I had to be obedient. I kept it a secret from almost everyone until a few days before the ceremony. The night before, after Bible study, my cousin came over to the house, and as I was doing my hair and getting ready for the following morning, we held a conversation, and it was during that conversation that I realized not only was I being obedient to God, I was marrying the man of my dreams, and it didn't matter what anyone thought. All my life, I aimed to please others, especially those close to me, and it was that night I realized I wasn't being who I really was. It really didn't matter to me if we had gotten married in Japan wearing swimsuits, as long as I had him forever. I had fought it because of what everyone else expected out of me, but that stopped that night. As long as we were happy, nothing else mattered. I started living my life that night. So I had, of course, kept praying about it. And I waited just as God appointed me to. And the next ceremony was to be that August. So I had talked with him about it, and I told him, I have still been praying about it, and God said, we can go. I think this was around June, I think. I said, God said we can go ahead and do it. So he sent me another packet, and we got everything squared away for the ceremony that August. I did not tell anyone until the day before the wedding. It was on a Thursday, and that Wednesday evening, I actually posted a picture on Facebook of our rings. And everybody was like, congratulations. I didn't know. No one knew except for my church family and my mom and my sister. No one else outside of that, no one else knew. And it not even my church family, it was just my pastor, my first lady, a few of the women in our women's Bible study group, and my cousin being one of those women, and then my mom and my sister. And of course, I told my daughter not that she cared any, as young as she was at the time. So the night before the ceremony, my cousin came over because I had to perm my hair, and I had picked out an outfit and everything for the ceremony the night before, and I had to Google the courthouse, and, because I had to go there before I actually went to the prison. And we talked, and I was so scared, you guys. I was so scared because of the criticism, because of what people would say, because of the negativity that I would, or I felt that I would receive after marrying him. I was so overwhelmed. I did not understand why um I had to do this, why I had to marry him in prison. Like it was just so it was so crazy. Um and one thing that I wanted or felt that I wanted was the wedding of my dreams. I felt that I wanted, my family and friends to be there and, to share that moment with everybody. And he told me, he was like, I promise you, if you marry me now, I will give you the wedding of your dreams. Not that I had a choice, because this is what God told me to do. Um, well, of course, I had a choice. I'm not going to say I had a choice, but I had to be obedient to God. And God also gave me a choice. He told me you can do it now or you can wait. But as much as I wanted to wait and as much as I tried to convince myself to wait because I wanted this or felt that I wanted this big wedding, um, my husband told me, if you marry me now, I promise you, I'll give you the wedding of your dreams once I come home. And honestly, you guys, now my husband and I talked about this. I don't even want the wedding. Like, it doesn't, we've been married for 4 years. It doesn't even matter to me. But he's like, I gave you that promise, so I have to do my part. I have to keep my word. But I got all off topic. um, my cousin came over and we were talking about that, and I was telling her, about that and how I was feeling and everything, and she just, helped me to realize that this is God's will for my life. And as long as I'm happy and as long as I'm being obedient to God and doing what God wants me to do, nothing else should matter. Nothing else should matter to me. No one else's opinion should matter to me. Don't ask why. Just thank God for choosing you for this journey, because there is a reason behind it. There is a reason behind it. And at that time, I did not understand that reasoning. But I trusted God. I trusted God. I trusted my husband. I knew I loved my husband. He was everything that I could have wanted in a husband, everything that I ever prayed for in a husband, except for his location. And my prayer was never, God, don't let him be in prison. So, yeah, I went for it. The next morning, I took the 45-minute drive, my last day as a single woman, feeling like a new person. I went to the courthouse, got the paperwork, and headed to the prison. We got married with two other couples, so the other ladies and I stood outside waiting for 30 minutes to be let in, and it was worth every minute. When we got in, we were led to the chapel, and the doors were open for us. As we walked in, I locked eyes with my soon-to-be husband, and I can't explain it, but it was one of the best and most intimate feelings I've ever felt. I'm getting that feeling all over again right now thinking about it. The women sat on one side and the men on the other side. The chaplain prayed and we stood together hand in hand as another inmate sang to us. We said our vows, exchanged rings, and kissed. Afterwards, we were able to eat and talk for a couple hours before leaving. He was so handsome that day, and I loved every minute spent with him. As I returned home, I felt the happiest I had ever felt, and I knew I had done what was right for me. So, the day of the wedding, like I said, I had to take the drive to the courthouse. He was present in a different county from where I live, so I had to go to the courthouse in that county. I think when I went, I had to get the application. I think is what we had to go get from the courthouse first. So we got there, went in, got the application, and then headed to the prison. So when we got to the prison, it was, like I said, it was me and I think it was actually three other couples, not two. But we were standing outside and we were waiting. Now it is August, it is hot, it is still hot. And we were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. I think no one came to get us until I think it was like maybe an hour, maybe it may have been longer than that after the ceremony was to start. But they finally, the guard finally comes to get us, and we get searched just as regular visitation. And from the little building to where they hold visitation, the actual visitation room, and the actual chapel, there was a sidewalk. It was a long sidewalk, and so we would come out of the little area where they did the searches, and you had to sign in for visitation and everything. And we walked up to the chapel. We walked up to the chapel, and they had us stand in line. And I think I may have been like the second person in line. And they opened the chapel doors. And when they opened the chapel doors, they had us walk down just as if it's a bride coming down for her wedding. And they had us walk down. But when the doors opened, my husband was the very first person, because they had the guy sitting on the right side. He was the very first person on the row. And so when the doors opened, he turned around, and I don't know, it was weird how it happened. When the doors opened, he spun around, and when they opened, my eyes immediately went to him. And the feeling was just, oh my God, it was so amazing. It was so amazing. But we walked down, and they had us sit on the left hand side. The chaplain, he talked, about marriage and, all that stuff. And then he instructed the guys to come and actually get their brides, quote unquote. So when they stood up, they reached down and got these little flowers. They were fake flowers. From, I don't know if they were under the chair or whatever. I don't know where they were, but yeah, they brought them to us and we held them, and then we stood as couples in front, like in a line, side by side, the in front of the chapel. And an inmate, he played "Ribbon in the Sky" by Stevie Wonder and sang the song to us. And I got teary eyed, and my husband was looking at me. He was like, "You okay?" I was like, "I'm fine." And then we turned to one another, and he went to each couple, and each person said their vows, and we did the ring exchange. And he was like, "You may kiss your brides, but remember you're in prison." It was so funny. That was so funny. And so after that, we got to take pictures, and they had cake and juice for us, and we were able to go to the vending machines as well. The regular visitation vending machine, because the chapel's right next to the visitation room. And we got 2 hours to eat and talk. And they had a movie playing, but of course no one was paying attention to the movie. And so when it was time to leave, I had to go back to the courthouse and actually get the marriage license. And because the chapel had to sign off on the application while we were there, so while we were eating and stuff like that, he came around and talked to each couple and signed off on the marriage. I guess it's the application. And we had to take that back to the courthouse for our actual marriage licenses. So yeah, and then after that we went home. So that was the end of that. Sucked, of course, not being able to be intimate on our wedding day or anything of that sort, but it was still all worth it to me. I married the man of my dreams, and I love him to death. And being his wife was that was the only thing that mattered to me. So we're gonna go to down here at the bottom. Says, up next, why did I get married? Thank you guys so much for getting this far in the video. If you have gotten this far, please leave a comment down in the comment section and let me know how you guys enjoyed part 2. Part 3 is going to have to be an entirely different video because, once again, it is very, very long. But I hope you guys stick around for part 3 and let me know how you guys like it. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.